The following program is an Animal House radio production.
Before we go to break, I want to introduce our feature topic.
Very good.
And what we're going to do is, it's kind of funny. Animals and the holidays.
Right.
So there's a lot of really interesting things that we can do. There's the good, there's the bad. There's a lot of holiday dangers. As well, there are a lot of holiday things that we just want to do that are really fun. Some really good stories. I told you a story earlier on with my dog.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. We'll talk about that.
There's tons of stories. Yeah. Do you have a funny story? Has there been a dinner during the holidays where your dog or your cat has jumped up on the table and taken some food and chicken and ran off, and everybody at the table is going crazy? As your dog or cat jumped on a tree, what have they done? We want to know. Phone number here is 416-785-0680, 416-785-0680, or info@animalhouseradio.com. We do have a couple of gifts to give away tonight, a gift basket. A couple of gift baskets, $50 worth of material from our good friends at Pet Stages and Jupiter Industries. We are going to take a break. The show is brought to you in part by Hill's Pet Nutrition, makers of Science Diet and Prescription Pet Food. We're going to be back in a couple minutes.
Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells swing.
Back at Animal House Radio, brought to you in part by Hill's Pet Nutrition, makers of Science Diet and Prescription Pet Food. Dr. Mike, in the theme of Christmas, please, give me some fact or fiction, buddy.
Alrighty. This fact or fiction is kind of neat. We talked about animals in movies last week, so I thought I'd jump into one of those. The Shaggy Dog came out in 1959. Funny movie with Fred McMurray and Tommy Kirk. And, of course, the dog was an Old English sheepdog, for those of you who didn't know. My fact or fiction question is they came out with a new Shaggy Dog in 2006, starring Tim Allen, and the dog they used in that show was the Old English sheepdog from the original Shaggy Dog, his great-grandson. Is that fact or fiction? If you know, give us a shout.
I know the answer.
You know the answer?
And what's the phone number here, Mike? It is 416-785-0680.
You got it.
If you have an answer for that great fact or fiction. I like that. Now, once again, we're talking about the holidays. It is that time of year where everybody sits there and puts on a couple of pounds. And not myself, I'm on a diet. But we all sit there. We all go under the Christmas tree, the mistletoe, and lots of other things. And we want to hear some really funny stories in terms of animals, your animals, and what it's like during the holidays with your animals. And we had a column that came out this week in Edmonton, Ottawa, all over the country.
It came out today.
It came out today.
Right.
You're a big celebrity now.
Oh, wait.
You're known coast to coast. Dr. Mike, give me the news. I love it, buddy. So once again, there are flip sides to everything. Once people have time off and there's Christmas trees and there's things around, things can happen. They can go downhill. Right. But on top of that, there's some really funny stories that people have as well. So we're going to talk about the good. We're going to talk about the bad. But some of the stuff I want to talk to you about now, pet holiday dangers.
Right.
Now, first thing I got to ask about. Okay, this is the first thing because I think tree. So I think plants.
Right.
And obviously there's other stuff with Christmas trees, but I think plants. So what is there in terms of plants?
Well, of course, the poinsettias and mistletoe, as you mentioned, and hollies. Those are the classic three Christmas plants or berries that we sort of deal with at Christmas time. And there used to be this incredible worry about poinsettias and how dangerous they were to pets. And they've realized nowadays that, yes, they can cause some gastrointestinal problems, but none of those are toxic to pets. I mean, poisonous, really, truly poisonous.
So how harmful are they? A mistletoe, for instance. If I put a mistletoe over a cat and a dog to kiss and they scratch each other.
They're going to get the most problems if they eat the berries from the mistletoe, and they'll just get some gastrointestinal problems, maybe some vomiting, some diarrhea, but as long as they don't get too dehydrated, it's not going to be too big of a problem.
What about if it's synthetic mistletoe? It's
that's going to be more of a problem.
Yeah, okay,
Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I mean, if it's small, they might be able to pass it, but, if they eat enough of it, then they may just, have a gastrointestinal obstruction from stuff like that.
What about baking goods? Because, everybody's baking stuff over the holidays. I'm baking a cake right now, which I can't eat, but I'm baking a cake. What about baking goods?
I mean, the classic stuff that we all know, the chocolates that we talked about the other day. Chocolate's a bad one. Raisins, which often they use in some of those mincemeat pies and stuff like that. Raisins. if you're baking, not on the baking stuff, but if you're cooking, we got onions. There were a couple of things that I realize a lot of people don't know that I just want to mention, and one of those is macadamia nuts. A lot of people eat macadamia nuts over the holidays.
I love macadamia.
Those are great,
nuts. Oh yeah, Tim Hortons.
They actually will cause hind limb paralysis in dogs and cats, where they actually can't use their back legs. But believe it or not, it's temporary.
Really?
Like they've actually proven this, where people have obviously taken it, and the dogs go paralyzed in the back end, and then boom, it just comes back, and they're fine. So this has happened numerous times. That's kind of neat.
Now, okay, well, that's more than neat. It's quite odd. In terms of a Christmas tree, if you're going with obviously one that you can buy at Walmart or one of those plastic ones, or I've heard different things that happens if you have an actual real Christmas tree and you have water in the Christmas tree to keep the tree fresh. Just like, dogs, you don't want them drinking out of a toilet unless, we used to have that issue where they have that blue thing.
Yeah.
And it used to clean the water and became very deadly to animals like cats and dogs who would drink from that. What about Christmas trees?
Christmas trees. Well, three things actually to worry about with Christmas trees is sometimes the sap from the, if you get a real tree and it's pine, the sap will fall in. And large quantities of sap can make these guys really sick. I mean, it won't poison them, but they will get sick again. A lot of people actually, as you know, if you've got a live tree, most people are going to put fertilizers in there to keep the sucker going. And if cats or dogs get a hold of the fertilizer, that can also be somewhat toxic. Now, we don't know how, it depends on the fertilizer you're using, but I just would be careful, especially if you have dogs, because, they're going to go over and sniff it and drink it, and you have to be careful.
Do you recommend if someone has maybe making a makeshift cover, plastic cover, something like that?
Just if you have animals, that's a smart thing to do. I mean, I think anybody would.
It's like child-proof.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it doggy-proof.
And finally, I mean, any stagnant pool of water, we all know that. When they talk about, mosquito larvae and all that stuff in stagnant pools, and that's how they came up with the West Nile virus thing. And just stagnant pools of water are sort of havens for bacteria and parasites, and so there's no denying that these guys can get parasites just from drinking the water as well.
Now, I heard that over-the-counter drugs during the holidays can cause a big problem, and obviously because people are, once again, they got family coming over. Some people leave medications out.
Yes.
Some people that are not accustomed, you're visiting your family, you're not accustomed to having an animal in the house. I heard that Tylenol is deadly to a cat.
Yes.
Is this the case? Is this true?
Absolutely. And sadly enough, in my career, I've seen 2 cats die from acetaminophen toxicity, Tylenol toxicity. And the scary part is the dose. The dose for cats that's toxic is 50 milligrams per kilogram. So your average cat's about, 8 to 10 pounds. So that's 4 kilograms. So if you add it up, that's 200 milligrams. That's not a lot of, that's what's an extra strength or a regular strength acetaminophen is 325 milligrams. So literally a half of one will kill an average size cat.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's not a lot. I mean,
that's not a lot at all.
At all, yeah.
And say you have a hungry cat and they're just going to go eat.
Who knows? Or maybe you dropped it and it landed in his food. These Tylenol liquid gels, and of course the children's Tylenol, it's all liquid.
Yeah.
And of course they're sweetened, so who knows? A cat might enjoy it. But I've had a couple of cats that have died of Tylenol.
What about dogs? Because I know dogs, you sometimes can give maybe not an aspirin, but you can give it maybe a Tylenol too. Yeah. But it's okay. It's not.
Tylenol is not nearly as toxic. See, the biotransformation that cats and dogs and humans have to do when they have Tylenol, dogs and humans can do that, cats can't. So that's why in dogs and humans, Tylenol is still fairly okay. I don't use it routinely in dogs because I just don't find it works that well in dogs.
Yeah.
But it's not toxic like it is to cats. I would never give acetaminophen to a cat, ever.
Oh, of course.
And aspirin, that's another one, aspirin for cats. They also have trouble. The half-life for aspirin in a cat, how long it lasts in their system is 45 hours. Whereas, for dogs and for us, how long does it last? 8 hours, right? 8 hours, it's gone. But in cats, it's 45 hours. You can imagine if you were to give 2 or 3 doses, they're all lasting, and so it's cumulative. So that's why aspirin toxicity is common in cats as well. So you have to be careful about that.
Yeah, other things, stuff that we're not going to find in the holidays, but you never know. You may, obviously, in terms of holiday decorations, you have glass ornaments, you got ribbons, and as well as what about electric cords? Because you're running these things around the house all the time in order to light these things up.
Right. Yeah, and the electrical cords, dogs, I know my dog Dexter likes to jump in there every once in a while, but if they see an electrical cord, they might just decide to chew on it. And I've seen, actually, a couple of times, dogs getting severe burns to their lips from chewing on electrical cords. They get shocked. It's bad. Yeah,
that's not good at all.
And people, the other thing is, speaking of electricity, people use a lot of batteries, for toys and stuff like that over the holidays. And batteries, as we know, are corrosive. And, a dog Romeo, a perfect example. A big lab, hey, what's this long thing? Let's swallow it whole, and it corrodes in his stomach. Not good. So those are not good things.